Hey guys, I'm Amelia and I'm an occupational therapist here at Leaps Academy and Therapy Clinic. Today we are talking all about going back to school because that's something that's coming up pretty soon for a lot of you. Now this year going back to school may look a little bit different with some of the new changes in schedule and regulations that have been put in place due to COVID-19. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of the changes that have been going on in the local area, but I encourage you to contact your school so that you're well aware of all the new changes that may be happening for your child. Today I wanted to address a few of those things and how occupational therapy can help your child to have a smooth transition back into school to have one of their best years yet. So one of the biggest things to think about is schedule and getting back into that normal school routine that sometimes it takes us a little bit to get into after being out for summer. But this time, since we're going back in August or September, it may have been almost 5 or 6 months since your child was last in school with that normal routine of getting up maybe around 6 a.m., being in school by 8, being in school for 7 or 8 hours at a time, and then going to bed at an early time to make sure they have plenty of energy and are able to pay attention the whole day. So for many of us, while we were home during quarantine, that probably meant that we maybe slept in a little bit later, maybe had more screen time than normal, and probably stayed up later as well. So we need to be able to adjust some of those new habits that we formed and go back to our normal routine. Occupational therapy is a great way to make sure that your kids get in the good routine with a proper sleep schedule, and especially addressing sleep to make sure that they're able to fall asleep when you need them to get that proper 8 or 9 hours of sleep that they need to be able to function to their highest potential in school. Another thing to be thinking about is that sometimes when we first go back to school after summer, it takes maybe a couple weeks to kind of get back in that routine and be used to sitting there for long periods of time. But because our summer break basically doubled, that means that it's going to take us a little bit more time possibly to be paying attention for long hours. Our kids aren't used to necessarily sitting for long periods during a lecture, and some schools have actually made changes where they will no longer have playground time, gym time, art, foreign languages, computer class, or any of your other extracurriculars where they would normally have opportunities to get up and move some throughout the day. Additionally, some schools have even changed where they will no longer be able to go into a lunchroom to eat and then return to their classroom. A lot of classes may actually remain in the same room and the same desk for 7 or 8 hours in a day, which is hard for a lot of kids to be able to pay attention. I know for me, even as an adult, those first few weeks of coming back after quarantine, I had a hard time sitting in a desk for long periods of time. So imagine that transition for some of your kids. So it's really important for us to figure out good ways for those mental and physical breaks that they need to be able to pay attention for the long day ahead. And occupational therapy is a great way to address that with your child, with a parent, and even talking to some of the teachers to making sure that those kids get what they need in the school system. So now if you have some younger kids and maybe you're worried about if they even remember their numbers and letters or how to write some of those numbers and letters, that's a great way that occupational therapy can review some of those things to make sure that they're right where they need to be when they start school. If you have a child who's a little bit older and maybe you have concerns about some of their reading progress and how quickly they're able to read or being able to write long essays and paragraphs and things like that, occupational therapy is also a great way to address some of those concerns as well, to make sure that they're able to read and write at a good pace and for long periods of time like they will need to throughout the day. The last thing that I wanted to mention is that many schools for upper elementary, middle school, and high school will now be requiring your children to wear a mask throughout the day. Now I know many of us have had to wear masks some over the last few months, but it's very likely that your child is probably only wearing them maybe once or twice a week for about an hour at a time. When they return to school, many schools will be requiring them to wear it for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, which is a very long period of time to get used to wearing this mask. So, for some kids, having a mask over their face could have some sensory issues that they don't necessarily like the way it feels. Maybe we need to look at their regulation and make sure that they are properly regulated while wearing the mask. Maybe for some kids, it's a distraction and it makes it really difficult for them to pay attention. In occupational therapy, we can address all of these concerns to make sure that your child is able to focus and do everything that they need to in order to be successful during school. So if you have any other questions about your child's transition back to school or feel like they might need some additional academic help for those school-age children, please feel free to contact us. We have an email address and a Facebook page that are in the description box down below. And don't forget to check out Miss Logan's, who is our speech therapist. She made a post on our Facebook page, which is Leaps Therapeutic Clinic, all about how speech therapy can help your child with their transition back to school. We are always here to focus on the entire child, whether that's working with the child, the parent, or even the teacher, and making sure that they get everything they need to have one of their best school years yet. Please contact us if you have any more questions, and we will see you next time. Bye.